If you make a mistake at your job, most likely you're not going to get fired. You're just going to get written up. It's actually pretty hard to get fired, technically, right? There's processes, there's legalities, there's HR. When you're a business owner and an entrepreneur and a creator or a creative individual who has a creative line of work, you can just lose money by one mistake. Today, I want to talk through what are the 5 biggest mistakes I've made or am currently making as a creative business owner, and how you can avoid those things as well. Hopefully this was interesting for you to see a man standing on a chair. So please tell me if that intro is good enough. My name is Dino Favaro. I'm a creative business owner and entrepreneur. I'm a social media strategist for a dental marketing agency, and I help people specifically with learning how to get views through short form video. I've been an entrepreneur for about 3 or 4 years now, and I live here in Orlando, Florida with my wife and kid in our beautiful house in our lovely backyard that needs to be cut. So if any of this interests you, please subscribe, please like, please comment, tell me what you thought was interesting and what you might want to hear more about. Because I'm always interested in helping other people do the thing that they want to do, which is step out and do something creative and get paid for it. So the number one problem that I've run into in the past that can just completely derail the trust that you have with your client is not setting proper expectations of deliverables and operations. And I kind of mentioned this, but all of this boils down to trust. Does your client trust you? At first, when you're just getting paid, when you're just signing a contract, technically they are bought in, but they don't trust you yet, okay? They don't believe that you're gonna do what you're gonna do fully, and they're waiting to see if they're gonna get an ROI on their money, which all they're looking for is effort put forth, okay? You could be absolutely failing, but if you're clear and you're showing effort and you're showing that you care, they are way more likely to continue to trust you. And if they trust you, they are going to pay you. Now, not all the time. Sometimes you're SOL. But in order to keep trust and gain trust, you have to set proper expectations. What does this mean? This does not mean waiting until they reach out to you. This is always reaching out to them first. It is setting expectations. It is being very clear on timelines. If you think you can get it done by tomorrow, tell them you'll get it done by next Monday. Under-promise, over-deliver is the famous saying there. So just be really cautious. Now, something that I would include here, I don't think I have it written down, but a way to boost confidence and to set proper expectations and to just really crush it for someone right out the gate is just speed. If you tell someone you're going to get something done for them, don't put it on the bucket list or the checklist for tomorrow. Grind it out really fast, right now. Do it right now. And then schedule it to be sent to them through their email, through Slack by the next morning. I love doing this. I basically, I'm always trying to communicate via Slack and or email and scheduling things in a way where it makes me look good. What we don't want to do is we don't want to stay up late working on something, send it over to the client at 11:30 at night and say, hey, here you go. No. Because what that looks like is you're late because you're staying up late to get it done. What you actually want to do is it's always best to just schedule it to send at like 6:30 in the morning the next morning. Because what they end up seeing is they're like, oh, this guy woke up early and knocked this out and he got it done. He sends it over to me. That's like just small little subtleties in how you communicate and the speed at which you communicate. Oh my gosh, the sun. That's going to set you apart. Now, I'm not perfect at this. I definitely want to do better, but this is what I strive for, okay? Now, there's 5 of these problems that I've run into or experienced right now. And hopefully by the end of this, you will be much better set up and prepared to avoid those problems in the future and not be at risk of losing money. So number 2, not communicating what you will do with someone's content. And so this is specifically tailored towards people who edit videos. This is tailored towards people who write, who are copywriters, who are website designers, people who are video editors, producers, etc. But this can be for anything. It's just basically not communicating what you're going to do. Okay, so like timelines, that number 1 is like not communicating timelines. Number 2 is not communicating what you're gonna make, right? Because a lot of times you'll make something or put something together and they think, well, what? This isn't what I wanted. They'll start to wonder, okay, do you even know my vision? Do you understand what I'm going for? This is why it's super important to be very clear on the front end with your vision and over communicate and explain what you're planning on doing. So for me, I use Loom. It's an amazing tool that you can download onto your computer for free. And you can basically screen record something and talk and make a video. It's super fast. And I basically am always making Looms, just talking through and over explaining myself, so that the client knows everything that I'm looking at, because sometimes you can't know what's going on in their head, right? And you want to get ahead of that by explaining to them before you do the work. And if you can over communicate before you do the work and let them fix it on the front end before you even get started, it's going to save you so much time and effort, right? You're not sending back and forth revisions. You're not going back and forth on what needs to be fixed, the tweaks. Because I can tell you the first client I ever had, I was writing LinkedIn posts for him for like $500 a month. And he would send me back and forth revisions on my LinkedIn posts. Change this letter here. This isn't, say and instead of the, like, this is super small stuff. And it's because I was just being like, okay, you paid me. Here's the LinkedIn posts. I wasn't explaining, hey, here's the article I'm finding. Here's what I'm looking at. I'm going to write it up like this. Here's an example of what I've done in the past, et cetera, et cetera. You want to be over communicating the creation process. Number 3 and number 5 is going to be probably one of the most important. So I want you to stick around and wait to the end to hear me out on what that is. But number 3 is not addressing payment schedules. Money is so tricky. And if you're an entrepreneur, you have to learn how to talk about getting paid for what you do. Most people are good. If they offer to pay you to do a work, they are down. They told you and gave you permission to ask for payment for stuff. So if someone's asking a lot of things, if someone's asking for X, Y, and Z, you can say, hey, I can do this, but it's going to tack on a little bit extra. It's going to be this much extra to do that, et cetera, et cetera. But the biggest thing you want to do is address, when are you going to be requesting payment and how often? What you don't want is to just send an invoice at the first of the month and them not know that. Because when someone gets an invoice, when they don't know they're going to be getting invoiced, they get defensive. They're like, whoa, what are you trying to do here? I always try and reach out to the client and say, hey, we are going to be sending an invoice at this day, this time. This is what I need. Is there anything you need from me before I send that over? Or please take a look at it whenever I send it to you. I'm letting them know when payment is needed or when I'm going to be requesting payment. And what that does is it allows people to feel like they're on the same team as you. It allows clients to feel on the same team. When you just like send an invoice, I can't even describe to you the amount of times where I've just assumed someone would pay an invoice. And what they did was they didn't pay it. They don't respond to me. And it takes me reaching out and be like, hey, did you see my invoice? And they're like, oh yeah, I didn't really know what that was for. Whatever. You're not charging a credit card. When you send an invoice, you're basically saying, hey, I'm going to do this work for you. Once you pay it, I will start doing this work. And so you just want to be able to communicate in a professional way to say, I need this taken care of. Is there anything that's holding us back from moving forward with this? Number 4, allowing too many revisions. I had a client for a long time who I would say, hey, send over any revisions you might want. I'll send it over to my editor. He would send an essay of revisions every single time. And at first I just said, hey, whatever you need, let us know. And we went back and forth for like a couple weeks on what we wanted. So eventually I just said, hey, you get 2 revisions. So then he started sending the essays. And that was just very frustrating because it was like, we could never figure out how to align and get to a point where no revisions are being sent, because that's always going to be your goal. Now, a small aside here is sometimes when you first sign up with a client, there's bound to be more revisions because you're just starting out and you're just starting to learn what this client wants. They're just starting to trust you. So of course there's going to be more revisions on the front end. So I usually say 2 rounds of revisions max, and just you let them know ahead of time. That way they know, hey, they got to get those revisions in. Otherwise, after round 2, it's being posted and I'm done, unless you want to pay extra to get extra revisions. I had one client who I never specified that, and we went back and forth. The video was done. We animated this amazing video. Maybe I'll risk throwing it here because I'm not going to show who it was, but it ended up getting like 1.2 million views. It was like amazing. But we went back and forth on what text to use, not the actual animation, the text on screen. We went back and forth on for 2 weeks, and he was getting really frustrated with me. I have no idea why, because I used, it's just funny because it was like so specific. They were like, this is too high up. Oh, this is too low. This is too wide. This is too small. Wrong font, different font, not that font, this font. And I remember sending over a project folder of 15 different variations of the text, and he didn't like any of them. He was like, oh, I don't like this or this or this. I'm like, okay. And so just to avoid that altogether, by just telling them on the front end and making sure they know, they get 2 rounds of revisions. It's time for number 5, the last one. Not knowing who my client or customer was. This is the most important thing, because if you don't know who you're trying to sell to or trying to make stuff for, you are going to be misaligned and you're bound to have terrible experiences with clients or potential clients. For example, if you are selling to real estate agents, but really who you want to be working for is business owners, that's a problem. Why is that a problem? Real estate agents own their own business, essentially. So they don't pay other people. They do all the work themselves, and then they get commission on what they sell. So whenever they see a paycheck, when they see an invoice, they're a little bit more nervous to pay that out. They're going to see a $5,000 invoice, and they're going to get nervous. A business owner who has employees and people on payroll, he's going to see $5,000 as an invoice and know that it's an expense. He's going to know that it is part of what it takes to run a successful business. So he's going to be more likely to do that. And so what you end up trying to do is you think you're selling to the right person, the real estate agent who might need the help. But what you end up doing is you sell to the wrong person because they don't want the help, or they don't understand why they need the help. Where the business owner is the right person who is going to be the person you're selling to. Now, this can come in all shapes and forms, and it's not just what type of company or business or niche you're selling in, but it can be what service you're providing. It can be how often, how long, how short, how fast, what format, anything that, when you are offering to sell something, whether that's a product or service, you have to understand if people want to buy it. And if people don't want to buy it and you're asking the wrong people to buy it, you're setting yourself up for failure. You would never go up to a professional athlete and try and sell them a case of Coca-Cola because they're not going to drink that. It doesn't help them. It actually hurts them. But I would try and sell them a pack of water, or maybe some Gatorade or hydration drinks or some energy drinks or something that's going to help benefit them. So it's all about knowing who you're selling to and who you're trying to serve, and then creating a product or service around that. Hopefully this was helpful. Please subscribe if you liked it. Thank you so much. Let me know in the comments if you think I should do some more. Thank you. Bye.